Welcome back to James for Hire. I'm Matthew Perry, and the NBA offseason is heating up, and it's heating up quickly. Just in the last 24 hours, we've had several big moves. Chris Paul to the Suns, Robert Covington to the Blazers, and then two that we're going to talk about in this video, Drew Holiday and Bogdan Bogdanovic in two separate trades are both heading to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's sending quite the buttload, for lack of a better word, of players and picks to the Kings and Pelicans respectively. But I wanted to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and what they're doing in their efforts to hold on to Giannis. And one rumor that has been getting a lot of airtime, it seems, that being James Harden heading to the Brooklyn Nets. I'll start with James Harden. James Harden is a top 5 player in the NBA. I think that's no question. His scoring ability is second to very few. Definitely one of the more elite scorers of our generation. His years with the Thunder and Rockets have been fairly good ones. He had his come up towards the end of his time with the Thunder, being like a 6th man of the year type, and really came into his own with the Houston Rockets, becoming their leader, their top player, that kind of elite guard that he is. But the Rockets haven't won anything with James Harden on the team, and they've come to a point where it might be time to shake things up. As mentioned yesterday, they traded Robert Covington to the Blazers. Harden is definitely on the trade block. He has not explicitly requested a trade, but it looks like that is what's going to happen. The Rockets offered him a 2-year, $103 million extension, which is $51.5 million a year, if my math is right. There are a few things, I don't know if any, that I wouldn't do for $50 million. That's a lot of money in a year. I don't think anyone in sports is making $50 million a year. I'd have to check maybe Messi, Ronaldo, their kind of things, not counting sponsorships. I don't know their contracts off the top of my head, but I know no one in baseball is making that much. No one in hockey, no one in football. $50 million a year is insane. And the Rockets offered him that, and he still turned it down. So it's definitely looking like James Harden wants to leave Houston. I can't say I blame him. If he's looking for a ring, I don't know if Houston's the right place at the moment. One place he's been linked to heavily is the Brooklyn Nets. Now they're up and coming. Obviously, the acquisitions of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are big and very important. Those are two of the top players in today's game, when healthy, of course. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be the right fit. He's been linked to places like Philly too, but if there's one thing Philly's good at, it's not winning. So I can't say I trust the Sixers with Harden either. But the Nets specifically, they finished with the 7th seed in the East last season. They finished 35-37. Injuries, of course, Kevin Durant was out for the year, and then Kyrie Irving missed quite a bit of time. They're definitely more injury prone, I would say, and their mentalities for the game of basketball, I don't think it would mesh well with James Harden. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant are all high-profile players, I'll say that. And I just don't think they would have the chemistry to be a successful basketball team. On paper, it's fantastic. You have 3 of the best players in the game. But, you break down sharing the ball and stuff like that, the Kobe mentality of not wanting to pass and, go get my rebound. We see that a lot in those kinds of players, and I just don't see it meshing well. The Nets, like I mentioned, are up and coming, and I think they have a nice core to build around, but do they need James Harden? It would help technically, but I don't see them winning a championship with the big 3 of Kyrie, KD, and James Harden. On paper, sure. In 2K, of course, I could definitely see a team in franchise mode killing it with the Nets. But in real life, with those personalities, I just don't see that meshing very well. Sixers, I guess, since I'll mention it, putting Harden with Simmons and Joel Embiid, I think would be a step up. I think the Sixers have been missing someone like Harden for a while. They, of course, did have Jimmy Butler at one point, but Harden is at least a grade above Jimmy Butler at the moment. I don't love the Sixers. I'm never confident in them when it comes to the playoffs or anything like that. They're a good team, not great. a few more pieces. Someone like Harden could help. So I'll say he's a better fit with the Sixers than the Nets. I think personality-wise, he would mesh better. Or maybe a team like the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics are a great team, very young. Putting Harden in there around, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, that sounds pretty fantastic. If they can get him to Boston, of course, Boston would have to give up at least one of those guys I just mentioned and some more and some picks, something real good. It's not going to be easy to trade Harden, but if they can do that, I think that's the best fit. A team like the Boston Celtics. So the Nets, I don't know. I'm not big on that. I do think they're up and coming. The acquisition of Steve Nash as head coach will definitely help. I think he's a great basketball mind, and they'll have a lot of success with him there. But I don't think Harden's what they need. Moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I have been a Milwaukee Bucks fan for a few years now, probably 3 or 4. And I follow them pretty intently, probably more than any other NBA team. Giannis is set to become a free agent, as many people know, and the Bucks have made it their top priority to keep him in Milwaukee. Now, he hasn't been linked, but there are teams eyeing him, teams like the Heat, teams like the Sixers, the Golden State Warriors, all linked to having interest in him, which who wouldn't have interest in him? He's a 2-time MVP, great talent, top 5 in this game, obviously. And Milwaukee's doing all they can. So 2 trades that went down yesterday, and I really don't know how to feel about them. You want to go win now, but I feel like the Bucks have lost a lot of depth. I'll read you off the first one. The Milwaukee Bucks have acquired Jrue Holiday from the New Orleans Pelicans in exchange for Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, and 3 first-round picks. Now, I'll break this one down first. Jrue Holiday, great player, very underrated in my opinion. He's been playing good basketball for quite a long time. I mean, even back in his days with the 76ers, I was pretty big on him. I do think he will fit into this lineup pretty well. But looking at what we're giving up, Eric Bledsoe, who was our starting point guard last season, he's had his ups and downs with the team, but overall, he gave us what we needed, a solid shooter, decent passer. But bringing in Holiday counteracts that. I see it as an improvement. George Hill was seen as depth, a great shooter, especially perimeter. Someone you can always count on right off the bench, or if someone's injured, he could definitely fit into a starting lineup. He's now going to New Orleans. Depth is important to me. I know we can build a great starting 5, but once those players get tired, who's coming in off the bench? It's just something to think about. And then the 3 first-round picks. This could go either way. The Bucks haven't had any fantastic first-round picks in a little bit. Malcolm Brogdon would be the most recent one. He won Rookie of the Year his first season with the Bucks. He's now on the Pacers, of course. Wish we'd have him. I love Malcolm Brogdon, but unfortunately he's gone. Our first-round picks have never been super. Dante DiVincenzo, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. He was our first-round pick last season. He was all right, nothing special. We had Thon Maker a couple years ago. DJ Wilson was one of our picks. We're not known for having the best draft picks, at least since Giannis. But it is what it is. So those 3 first-round picks, good on the Pelicans. I think they got some great talent out of this. No matter what, they have things to work with. The future is very bright in New Orleans right now. Building around Zion, building around Brandon Ingram, guys like that. Adding Bledsoe, adding George Hill, and then 3 future first-round picks. You can quote me on this. I think with what's going on right now, and they get the right coaching, I think New Orleans could win a championship within the next 10 years. It is where it is. On paper, with that kind of talent, if you don't win a championship within 10 years, there's something definitely wrong with your franchise and you need to reevaluate it. But yeah, it's looking bright right now for the Pelicans. The Bucks, I can't tell what direction they're really trending. We'll move on to the next trade with the Sacramento Kings. It's a sign and trade. The Bucks are getting Bogdan Bogdanović, the shooting guard, and the Kings wound up adding Justin James, who's a kind of a role player, not very well known. But the Kings are receiving DiVincenzo, who I just mentioned, DJ Wilson, also who I mentioned, and then Ersan Ilyasova. Now, Dante didn't have the best first season. I mean, he made his mark here and there, but he didn't really get an opportunity to show what he can do. Same with DJ Wilson. He's been on and off the last couple of seasons, kind of having his high points and low points. Sometimes he's just straight non-existent, but it is what it is. Ersan Ilyasova, I would say, is the bright point of this trade. I know he's the older of the three, but he's a fantastic role player, sixth man type guy. Good perimeter shooter. I know he draws a lot of charges. That was a little Matty stat that I saw. He's led the league in charges for the past couple of years, which is, I mean, impressive in its own way. But Bogdanovic is good. He's younger. We can fit him into the lineup, sure. I don't know if this is enough to get Giannis to stay. If we make these trades, we being the Bucks, of course, if the Bucks continue making trades like this, you're losing a lot of depth. And right there, that's in 2 trades, we lost 5 players and 3 first-round picks. It's depth. Robin Lopez also declined his option, as did Wesley Matthews. So there are plenty of holes to fill in this team right now. The draft, of course, is a few days away, I want to say it's a week or 2 or less. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head. The Bucks have the 28th pick, I want to say, which is nothing special. I can't personally name anyone special that came from the 28th pick. Late first round. It wouldn't surprise me if we traded that pick. I don't think the general manager of the Bucks is done because this team right now is not making the playoffs because we're just missing so many pieces. But yeah, the Bucks also never engaged in a CP3 trade, never inquired about that, which is fine. Chris Paul's good and he's a future Hall of Famer, but I think he's aging, and I don't think that's something that the Bucks need to be involved in right now. Also seeing that how much the Suns gave up to get CP3, I wouldn't want that to happen to the Bucks, even though we kind of just did that for Drew Holiday. I think Drew Holiday is a much better fit, and we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, the NBA offseason's heating up. Plenty of moves still left to be made. The Bucks are not alone in trying to make their team better, of course. The draft will definitely play a part in that. Many draft picks have came and gone already. But yeah, I just want to talk about those. Those are probably the 2 most important topics right now in the NBA. If something else happens, of course, I'll be back with more to bring it up. And follow our Twitter. I'm glad I mentioned that. Our Twitter actually for updates on sports and videos and stuff like that. It's at GMs for Hire. Same as our username on wherever you're listening to this or watching this. We keep it universally sound. So yeah, go give us a follow on the new Twitter. And for GMs for Hire, I've been Matthew Perry. This has just been a little bit of stuff on the Bucks and James Harden, and I will see you next time.